So, hello everyone. This is Corey Westphal, the CEO at Mobile Assistant. So happy you could join us today. It is the top of the hour, and so I wanted to get things started right away and not have everyone wait, so that we're real conscious of your time. I'm really excited to introduce our guest today, Dr. Jack Sanger. Just as a quick intro, this webinar, the reason why I put this one on specifically for our customer base is that when we have different webinars, a lot of times we focus on the tech stack for advisors, different technology that we work with and we partner with as a company to help make your lives better. But one of the things that I think is really overlooked in the financial industry is really the well-being and the mental well-being for advisors. Taking care of yourself, not only in a way that helps your clients, but also just taking care of yourself to make sure that you're operating the most efficiently you can. You're de-stressing as much as you can. There's a lot of anxiety in the world today, and so being able to keep that under control so that you can be the very best that you can be. It's kind of a cliche term, but I like it. It's really an important topic that doesn't get covered very often. And so Dr. Jack, I met just a couple years ago, and it was really intriguing to me because of his background. He was introduced to me from a colleague of mine that had him on to present to some of their clients, and had spoken such really great things about his message. And what I thought was really intriguing, we started talking, and I didn't really know much about Dr. Jack, and he was explaining his background and how he had been a sports psychologist for so many years, and how that translated into working with financial professionals and top 1,000 companies in the country with their teams. And we get talking, and I find out that his son is actually a Division I ex-tennis player. And interesting enough, that's my background. I was a Division I tennis player, and so because of that background, the psychology that he talks about in how you really think about things, how you utilize different skills and tactics that are very much sports related, really personally just impacted me a lot. It made a lot of sense, and because of that, I thought this would be a great opportunity to just introduce Dr. Jack to our customers and our clients, and as a way to kind of give back to our customer base, to give you all something different that you don't normally get on a weekly basis with these podcasts. That could be something you could take away, even if you just take away one thing today, that I think really could have a big impact for you. So that's just a quick intro. Just so you know, this is going to be recorded, so I'm going to be sending it out to anyone that happens to need to hop off a little bit early, or if you had signed up and just weren't able to attend, you'll be able to listen to this in full at a later time at your convenience. Also, last kind of housekeeping thing, on the GoToWebinar panel, there is a questions section. If you have any questions at all during Dr. Jack's presentation, you can type in your question there, and we'll keep track of it. And the last 10 minutes of this 45-minute session, Dr. Jack will really use that to answer any questions people might have. So without further ado, Dr. Jack, thank you so much for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Corey, and thanks to everyone at Mobile Assistant, the superb aid for advisors, and thanks for inviting me to present this very valuable program. As you pointed out, people don't frequently talk to advisors about mental health or emotional issues, which are critically important, and that's really the area of my specialty. That's why I wrote the book, The Financial Advisor's Ultimate Stress Mastery Guide, and if you stay tuned, we'll talk about how you can get one of these things dirt cheap. I'm going to give you several bonuses at the end of this session, so stick around and I'll tell you what you're going to be able to get that you can really change your life and change your job. So my plan today, ladies and gentlemen, is to teach you a proven blueprint or framework for building resiliency and thriving during challenging times. This is the exact same blueprint that I've used with 3 Olympic gold medal winners and hundreds of elite athletes during my 47-year career as a professional sports psychologist. And like athletes, I consider all financial advisors to be champions, but most of them never accomplish their full potential because of things like lack of confidence, self-doubt, and mainly because they haven't learned how to control the stress in their lives. What I'll share with you today involves cutting-edge psychological research showing you how to finally take charge of your stress and minimize it, regardless of the challenges you face. I'll talk for 35 minutes or so, then we'll do the Q&A at the end. And again, as Corey told you, if you have questions, just put them in the chat box because I'm going to go fast. I want to give you a lot of information, much faster than you can probably write things down. But ask the questions, and then if you have questions that you'd rather ask me in private, just send me an email. My email address is drjack, like Dr. Jack, at advisingtheadvisors.com. That's advisors, ORS.com. drjack at advisingtheadvisors.com. And as I said, I'm going to provide you with 3 major bonuses at the end just for attending today's webinar. So stick around to take advantage of those bonuses. By the way, one of them is a complimentary coaching session. How's that? A confidential complimentary coaching session, no obligation. Ask me whatever you want and I'll help you. So stay tuned. So what are you going to learn today? Number one, I'm going to teach you the number one cause of any stress you'll ever experience, because how you deal with stress is one of the most important determinants of not only how you will perform in your career, but it will even determine how long you will live. In fact, I talk to people a lot about living longer and better, and I have a client event, a unique client event called How to Live Much Longer Than Your Kids Hoped You Would. So that's something you may be interested in. Again, you can send me an email at drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com. The client event packs the house because everyone wants to learn how to live longer and better. It's the psychology of life extension, and they bring guests, and many guests convert to be new clients because they're so thrilled that this advisor brought in a professional psychologist to teach them something of real value. And we can talk about that more at the end if I have time. Secondly, I'm going to teach you how to engage a warp speed mental toughness method, the same method that I've used with Olympic gold medal winners and hundreds of football players, golfers, tennis players, you name it. It's a powerful method that you can engage yourself in 5 minutes. Does that sound reasonable? In 5 minutes to teach you something that you can use for the rest of your life, and it will quickly reduce anxiety, self-doubt, worry, anxiety, whenever these emotions creep in. In short, I'm going to teach you how to release the potential of success that lies within each and every one of you. And it gets buried under stress or self-doubt, worry, and anxiety during challenging times, but we're going to find out how to uncover it. Would it surprise you to know that your current stress, right now, your current stress is not caused by any of the following things? It's not caused by dealing with the complexities of managing portfolios and the technology so you can work smarter and not harder. That's not a stressor. It's not caused by the impact of the global political landscape on your business. That's not a stressor. And it's not caused by struggling to maintain a work-life balance. Those are not stressors. That may surprise you. But what we know now, and this is probably the most important discovery in the field of psychology in the last 50 years, is that all negative self-defeating emotions, such as stress, anxiety, fear, frustration, anger, are never caused by events and situations that occur in your life. I know many of you are saying, what do you mean? I've been in a lot of situations I felt stressed. The reason you felt stress is because of the conversation you have in your head about the event, not the event. It's always the conversations we have in our heads about events that determines our emotional and behavioral reaction. And that's an important discovery, because before it was discovered, people would go to see a psychologist or psychiatrist or what have you with emotional and mood problems and so forth, and it might take months and months, maybe years, to uncover what was going on. We can now help people with any problem in literally weeks by figuring out the habits they've developed in terms of their self-talk, the conversations they have in their heads. So it's your internal conversation about how to use the new technology to work smarter, not harder. It's your internal dialogue as it relates to global political landscape and how it affects your business. It's in your internal self-talk about how to balance your work and family life that determines whether you're going to be stressed or not stressed. So here's the takeaway. It's the conversations, the thoughts, the beliefs in your head about a situation or event that determines both your emotional and your behavioral responses. And these conversations you have in your head can be labeled as either nutritious or toxic. And we now know that most of the deficiencies, limitations, and problems that people have, regardless the moods that they have, the concerns they have, the worries they have, are essentially rooted in their self-talk. The good news is you can be in control of your self-talk. You know, once you learn about it, you can learn how to control it. And that's some of what I'm going to teach you today. By the way, everything plus a lot more is in the book. If you're interested in getting the book so you can really go through this step by step, it's a $37 book that I'll provide for $15. I'll send you the email version. You just have to email me, drjack@advisingadvisors.com, and I'll send you a copy of the Ultimate Stress Mastery Guide. I'll tell you how to do it when you send me the email, but for $15, this could be life-changing for you. Mood issues like anger and depression, anxiety can be quickly cured understanding the self-talk habits that people maintain. It's that little voice in your head. Is the voice toxic or healthy? Does that voice give you self-doubt, fear, anxiety, or worry about a situation? Or does it actually raise your self-esteem, your confidence, and encourage you in difficult times? All of my work with athletes was working on their internal dialogue. What differentiates, for example, an Olympic gold medal winner from someone who gets bronze? It may be a tenth of a second, but what is the difference? The difference is what went on in that person's head. They have the same athletic ability, they've had the same coaching, they have the same experience. The only difference is what goes on between your ears. And that's what causes our problems, or once you learn how to control it, that's what causes our happiness and our success. Let me give you an example of this from my own life. Many years ago, my wife and I were boarding a plane in San Diego. I was invited to speak for advisors in Maui. Everybody's happy. They're all going to Maui. I was happy. I'm going to Maui for a free vacation. And my wife is happy, and it's a beautiful June day. She sits down to my left on the window, and I'm on the aisle. And shortly after we take off, she gets up to use the restroom. She comes back, and then I get up and use the restroom, and then I come back and I sit down on the aisle. Now, as I'm sitting on the aisle, out of the corner of my eye, I notice the young lady sitting to the right of me on the aisle is feverishly writing something on a napkin, those napkins they give you on the airlines, and looking up at me as she's writing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm wondering, what could this woman be writing that would have to do with me? I haven't had a note passed to me since 6th grade. It happened so rarely, I can even tell you who passed it. Susan Minnelli passed me a note in 6th grade, okay? So I'm wondering and fantasizing about what could she possibly want to tell me. First of all, I'm not alone. She could see I'm with someone. Maybe because there's a separate seat between us, she doesn't think I'm with someone. Secondly, I'm twice her age. I just can't imagine, but I'm getting excited waiting to read it. And this is the exact note that this lady feverishly passes me. Sir, I don't mean to embarrass you, but I think you'd like to know that the toilet seat cover is hanging out of the back of your pants. What? Oh my gosh. Now that's an event. That's a situation. How I react to it, whether I'm stressed, embarrassed, worried, or any other emotion, is determined by the conversation I had in my head at that moment. And I said to her, young lady, not only didn't you embarrass me, but you actually gave me an opening I can use for every speech I give in the future. So thank you very much. And she was shocked, but that's what I converted this to, as something positive. Instead of being mortified and embarrassed and not be able to look her way for the 6-hour flight, I found something positive to take away from that situation. And that's what we're going to examine. So events or situations that take place in your life, you have an internal conversation about the event, and that internal conversation directly determines your emotions and the behaviors that follow. Your internal conversations are based on thinking habits, and those thinking habits have been reinforced thousands of times unconsciously. Sometimes they're based on negative triggers, which we call Iceberg core beliefs. I'm going to give you a few of these. I call them Iceberg core beliefs because, like an iceberg, which only a little of which is sticking above the surface of the water, these core beliefs are mostly unconscious. Maybe you're aware of some of them, but not until somebody talks to you about it. They're mostly unconscious. These beliefs have been developed by your parents, your teachers, your friends, many people over many, many years, and you don't even know you maintain them. But they're deeply held unconscious beliefs that lead to out of kilter emotional reactions. Let me give you some examples. Asking for help is a sign of weakness. We're all products of our past history. Since I've always been this way, I can't change anything. It's in my DNA. There's a right and perfect way to do everything, and it will be catastrophic if I can't find that way. I have to be perfect or I feel like I'm a failure. Everyone who knows me believes I'm more talented, smarter, and successful than I believe I am, and it's only a matter of time before I prove that to them and I'll be mortified. How about this one? I should never make waves. I should always fly under the radar and avoid confrontations at all costs. Ladies and gentlemen, most of you have had or still have some of these unconscious beliefs. I list many more of them in my book. But the good news is you're not a prisoner of your past behavioral habits or even your DNA. You can modify your mindset, maybe you've heard this term, by understanding the belief system habits you have and deciding that you're going to change those beliefs that are not healthy. And I'm going to teach you a way to do that today. At the core of these beliefs is often a feeling of unworthiness and a helpless feeling that I can't control what is built into me. But you can change your iceberg beliefs. It's your choice. Those conversations contribute to both your mental and your physical health, and you can change those beliefs that are not healthy. The goal is to create harmony between your mindset, your emotions, and your behaviors. Just like an orchestra creates harmony between the strings, the woodwinds, and the horns, you want harmony between your mindset, the emotions, and your behaviors. So when you change the way you think about yourself, you change the beliefs about yourself. When you change the beliefs about yourself, you change the internal pharmacy, which actually impacts your health and longevity. We all have an internal pharmacy. Most diseases and illnesses get cured within our bodies if our immune system is strong. And all of this depends on your thinking habits. That's why we can help people with any emotional problem, and in my experience, many chronic physical problems as well, by controlling your thinking. Again, remember, I do a client event called How to Live Much Longer Than Your Kids Hoped You Would. It's a funny title, but it's the psychology of life extension, changing your thinking for your health and longevity, all proven techniques with people who live into their hundreds. So the most important skill you can ever learn for both your business success and for your overall health and longevity is to manage your stress. And you manage your stress from the inside out by taking charge of your internal self-talk and stopping poisonous, self-destructive, toxic self-talk. The kind of toxic self-talk I'm talking about are anything that starts with the two words, what if? What if this happens? What if I did this wrong? What if this isn't good? Or I hope I don't have this problem, or I should have done that, where you beat yourself up. Now, you can't be positive and negative at the same time. One or the other must prevail. So the more you think positively about a situation, the more you clear out the negative thoughts. And neuroscience teaches us that every thought, whether it's positive or negative, chemically and electronically transfers to every cell in your body instantly. Our irrational beliefs and thoughts lead to toxic self-talk, which chemically and electronically affect every cell immediately, even if those beliefs and thoughts are irrational. Your brain doesn't judge them, it just reacts to them. Let me give you an example. Corey mentioned tennis and golf. Those of you who play either of those sports, here's how those thoughts can translate instantly to your muscles. Let's say there's a water hazard in front of you and you're playing golf and you say to yourself, I hope I don't hit it in the water. If you make a statement like that, you've just increased dramatically the possibility of hitting it in the water. Why? Because you've alerted your brain to a fear you have The brain thinks it could be an emergency. It doesn't differentiate between hitting it in the water and a lion chasing you. It just goes to the default position immediately. And one of the things it does is it tightens up your muscles because the brain causes you to go into what's called the fight or flight nervous system, and tightening up the muscles to flee or fight is the first thing that should happen. So here you are getting ready to swing the golf club, and you've unconsciously tightened up all of your muscles. Now you're squeezing the club unconsciously in a way that's not your normal swing, and you have a much higher probability of making an errant shot. Same in tennis. I hope I don't double fault. As soon as you do that, make a statement like that, you tighten yourself up on the racket and you swing differently, making a huge probability that you'll double fault. These things can be fixed easily. You just have to be aware that you're doing them. Now, the average person has 60,000 thoughts a day. Research shows that the vast majority, unfortunately, are negative and lead to self-doubt, worry, insecurity, lack of confidence, and so forth. Why do so many of us have negative thoughts? It's sort of built in from when we had the reptilian brain that we had to be on alert for danger because danger was around every corner. Saber-toothed tigers, dinosaurs, you name it. So people were always negative and worried about things, so they'd be vigilant. Unfortunately, negative emotions resulting from toxic self-talk wire into the brain 1,000 times faster than positive emotions in order to protect us. It's the survival mechanism. So negative self-talk is normal, but you don't have to keep doing it, even though these are remnants of our old lives where we had to be super vigilant to stay alive, developed millions of years before the cortex, which is where we think. People just reacted then to danger. So differentiating a charging lion from your fears about using more technology in your business, your brain doesn't know the difference. It goes to EPCON 10 and puts on all of the fight or flight if you're not careful about what you say to yourself. Toxic thoughts lead to stress hormones and energy flowing into your arms and legs, pumping up your heart, doing all the things you don't need to happen when you're sitting at your desk. And at the same time, it shuts down systems that it doesn't think will be necessary for saving your life, such as your thinking ability, such as your digestion and your immune system. Think about it. Have you ever taken an exam when you were in school and you were so nervous about the exam and giving yourself negative messages that you couldn't think of an answer even though you studied your head off? Everything was blank. I had that experience in graduate school once. Even though I had studied everything, I knew everything, and it all looked familiar, I couldn't think of anything because I locked my brain up, worried about not doing well on the test. The most important part of this is that your immune system shuts down every time you do this. Every time you think negatively scary thoughts, your immune system shuts down so all the energy can go into the fight or flight. So what do you think happens if your immune system is shutting down frequently during the day? Like every time a toxic client calls you, or a worried or panicky client calls you, or the market goes through hoops and does gyrations up and down, and you've got people saying, what do I do now? Or you're thinking about the newest technology and how can I ever learn this? Or you're worried about not spending enough time with your family and you don't know how to balance this. If this is going on all the time, many times during the day, each time you're shutting off your immune system until you recover from that. And when you keep shutting your immune system off, you're vulnerable to disease. That's why most of my referrals in my 47 years as a psychologist came from like gastroenterologists, people who have people with stomach and abdomen problems and they can't figure out what the doctor doesn't know what's going on. From orthopedists who found people with all kinds of pain where there was nothing wrong with their muscles or bones. All of these things can be attributed to tightening up the body. Let me give you some examples of illnesses that can either be caused by or at least exacerbated by turning on the fight or flight nervous system. When you turn on the fight or flight nervous system, blood leaves the GI tract to flow into the muscles of the arms and the legs to prepare for fight or flight. Now, blood leaving the GI tract frequently can lead to things like nausea, vomiting, energy loss, chronic digestive problems, even diseases like gastritis, colitis, and irritable bowel syndrome. Muscles tightening up can lead to muscle spasms, tension, and pain, especially around your neck and back. In addition, chronic muscle tension can contribute to migraine headaches, tension headaches, jaw clenching, TMJ problems, and fatigue. In my practice, I've used hypnosis for hundreds of people with migraine tension and tension headaches, for example, all coming from the stress that they produced by negative thinking. By the way, I've used hypnosis with every athlete I've ever worked with. It's a powerful technique. I've used it with every advisor I've ever coached, made recordings. It's a powerful technique showing you that simply talking to yourself in a positive way can change everything that's happening within your body. What else happens when someone turns on the fight or flight nervous system? Glucose pours into the bloodstream because you need the energy for fleeing or fighting. Well, what do you suppose happens to a person who's turning on the fight or flight nervous system multiple times every day, multiple times because of trouble with your teenagers, lines that you have to wait for that you're irritated about? Whatever it is, you keep turning it on, you keep squirting glucose into your bloodstream. Yes, you can get diabetes or at least make it worse and other endocrine disorders. Obviously, if your blood pressure rises every time you're thinking negatively and you're worrying about things, then you can lead to cardiovascular problems, the least of which is high blood pressure or hypertension. That can also lead to kidney damage. And I'll tell you one of the most important ones, because this affects many of you. If you're constantly worried about something when you're trying to fall asleep, either something that happened during the day that bothers you, or you're worried about something that might happen tomorrow, then you're squirting adrenaline into your bloodstream, because when you turn on the fight or flight, adrenaline is there to make you alert. Adrenaline is a hormone that makes you alert. And obviously, if you're in danger, you need to be alert. But that's the opposite of needing to fall asleep. If you're squirting adrenaline into your bloodstream because of what you're thinking about, you won't be able to fall asleep. That's the whole purpose. So I recommend have a little notebook next to your bed. And at night, instead of thinking about negative things, think about what encouraged you most during the day, what you accomplished during the day that maybe you forgot about already, what part you played in something good happening. Just write these things down, 2 or 3 a night, so that your mind is focused on good things happening in your life instead of things that you're worried about. That's critically important. We all know the power of our thinking, because we can talk about something like the placebo effect, where they give people a pill that's a sugar pill, but they think they're getting the real pill, and it actually 30 or 40% of the people actually get better because they thought they were getting the real pill. So all of these things can happen to you if you just pay attention to your thoughts. Now, I want to tell you now about mental toughness. Mental toughness is a skill that separates good performance from championship performance. It involves looking at every challenge as an opportunity instead of being overwhelmed by it. It's the ability to bring your A game consistently and the ability to bounce back quickly from any adversity, such as dealing with difficult clients or dealing with the pandemic or what have you. So I'm going to teach you now Dr. Jack's quick and dirty mental toughness routine that you can do in 5 minutes. It just takes practice to do it over and over again. Whenever you experience a negative emotion like anxiety, fear, upset, impatience, anger, here's what you do. And again, I'm going to do this fast. This is all in the book, or send me an email at drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com and I will send you this. Write down the negative emotion you're feeling. I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling worried. Number 2, recognize the thoughts that preceded the emotion. I got upset because my assistant made a mistake with one of my clients, and now I have to deal with the client. Step number 3, have a thick rubber band nearby. The kind I recommend is called the number 62 rubber band. It's the kind that comes in the mail. That's the number 62 rubber band. And snap the rubber band on your wrist. Have it on your wrist and snap it. And that will stop the thoughts. It may have to snap it a few times because the thoughts want to keep coming back. Now that the thoughts are stopped, take some deep breaths. The best way to breathe is in through your nose to the count of 4, hold it for 4 seconds, then out through your mouth like you're blowing through a straw to the count of 7. Step number 5, challenge the thoughts. Where's the evidence to support my anxiety-producing thoughts? What's the probability that what I'm afraid of is actually going to happen, or is it just something I'm afraid of? Could I be exaggerating this situation in my mind? Am I turning a minor setback into a major catastrophe? Is there any alternative explanation that could explain what happened or what's going to happen or what I'm worried about? Are my are my conclusions based on emotions rather than facts? Am I using extreme words or phrases in my thoughts like always and never? She never respects what I want to do. He's always teasing me. These are words you should keep out of your vocabulary. Am I assuming the worst will happen when I don't have evidence of that? So once you've done that, you started to challenge the thoughts. The most important step is to dispute those thoughts with healthy dialogue. Here's some examples. If your internal conversation as it relates to adapting to the complexities of new technology to attract new clients is something like this: I'm feeling overwhelmed learning how to use this technology to work smarter and harder. It's a nice thing to do, but I don't know if I can do this. I may not be capable of it. Change that to something like this: people need my wealth management planning services now more than ever. And with things like mobile assistance, commitment to the human touch in my dictation, I can document client interactions in a more structured, accurate way so that I will be much more efficient and I'll be expertly serving my clients' needs. That's just an example of how you can change it to something positive. If your thought is, how do I deal with the impact of the global political events that I can't control? Change that to, I've been resilient and flexible in many unpredictable situations in the past, and I will adapt to the new normal, consult expert strategists, and help my clients to thrive despite political climate. And if your internal conversation is something like this: I don't know the best way to manage my work-life balance because I need to build my book of business, and also my family's complaining I don't give them enough time. Change it to something like this: during the pandemic, I realized that I need to spend more time with my family. I'll be assertive with them regarding the space I need for my business, but I will also acknowledge their needs. Therefore, I will now be able to formulate a work-life balance plan that works for all of us. And step 7, you anchor it with another set of deep, relaxing breaths. So developing this mental toughness skill leads to increased confidence, it leads to lower stress, it leads to fewer behavioral mistakes, and it leads to enhanced physical and mental health. You know, today's your pivot point for ultimate success. You have a choice. You can continue to find yourself feeling stressed and overwhelmed and not pay attention to anything I talked about, or you can find yourself. Give yourself compassion and use these techniques to overcome every obstacle you face. And to help you to use these techniques, here are the bonuses. Bonus number 1, as I mentioned, if you want to read all about it in my book, The Financial Advisor's Ultimate Stress Mastery Guide, the only book of its kind for financial advisors, $37 book I'll offer for Corey's clients for $15. You just have to email me at drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com and I'll tell you how to get it. Number 2, if you want a free, confidential, no obligation coaching session, I'm happy to do it for any of the people on this webinar today. Next, I have an online course that you can get 12 CE credits for called Actionable Skills to Quickly Develop the Mindset of a Champion Financial Advisor. I'll give you a 20% discount if you tell me that you came to this program that I did for Corey's clients. And the final one, I'll give you a 15% discount if you're interested in my client event, How to Live Much Longer Than Your Kids Hoped You Would, an event that'll make a huge difference for your clients and their guests. Just contact me again if you want any more information about how this works. And by the way, many times the advisor or the advisor group doesn't even have to pay me for this because you work with wholesalers, with insurance carriers, with mutual fund companies. They're frequently happy to sponsor this. It doesn't even cost you anything. So it's a win-win-win situation. So with that, I'll take a deep breath and I'll ask Corey now to open it up for questions.
Oh, that was great. Oh, thanks, Dr. Jack, so much. I know I speak for probably everybody here. This was fantastic. I just wish I had more time with you because I think we could probably spend about 3 hours talking about every one of those topics that you covered that I think everybody can relate to. That's fantastic. I do have 2 quick things. So one of the takeaways that I had from just listening to you, and I think this is really true, especially for me personally, is that, you know, we have complete control over how we allow things to affect us when it comes to stress and anxiety. There are plenty of things that happen in our lives, and whether it's work or personal lives, that we can have a really a remarkable effect on ourselves on how we're looking at it in a positive or negative way. Sometimes it's not always easy to look at things in a positive way. Like the COVID lockdowns are a great example. Not a whole lot of positive out of that, but did you get to spend more time with your family? You know, and did you get maybe a closer connection to one of your kids because you know, you were working at home more than you normally would? There's definitely different ways of looking at things. And I think that's a fantastic point, that really trying to control what we have control over, which is how we feel about things. I think that's great. The second thing is I want to mention something that I think might help everybody that's on this call today from mobile assistance perspective. A lot of webinars that we do with other partner fintech companies is we talk about the overwhelming feeling that advisors have when it comes to the amount of technology that's available for them. And one of the things I want to really stress to everyone on this call is that I really encourage you all, if you're feeling like that, to leverage the teams of the fintech companies you're working with, whether that's Mobile Assistant or that's any of the other companies that are out there in the industry. All the really good fintech companies have a remarkable success teams, and I'm very fortunate that we can say that about Mobile Assistant. We have a success team that you can literally hop on our website, click on coaching session, and you can hop on for half an hour for free and talk to one of our coaches, and they will work with you on any questions you have about our technology or how our technology works with our other integrations with our other partners. That's a really important thing I wanted to make sure to just communicate with everyone, that kind of ties in with the whole topic of doing things that can really help you to reduce your stress. That's what we're here for. We're here to make your life easier. Just like Dr. Jack is here to help you with a lot of issues in life that can be addressed mentally, and I love it all. It was really great, Dr. Jack. One of the questions that came through here was, will this be taped? And yes, absolutely, we'll be sending it out. And CE CFP approved. Do you have any kind of accreditations like that, Dr. Jack, for any of your sessions?
Yeah, many of the groups that have booked me to do this have actually gotten 1 CE credit for it, you know, so they have done that. And the course that I mentioned that I do, it gets you a voucher for 12 CEs to use at Web CE, where you can take any course you want, but it gives you 12 free CE credits for that. And all of those are approved on Web CE.
That's great. Thank you. Great. Just because some of you had asked how to get a hold of Dr. Jack, I did put Dr. Jack's email right in the chat. It's drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com again. So it's in the chat if you want to grab that and send him an email, or drjacksinger.com is a great resource. You've got some great things on your website, Dr. Jack. You did a great job. There's some free resources there. And I just liked learning about a lot of the different tactics that you have just free to the public, which is very nice of you to post out there for anybody to read up on.
Well, Corey, you know, this has been such a pleasure. I think this is the second or third one I've done for your people. You know, I have a whole series of them. We can do another one another time. But what's really amazing about what you do and why you're so successful is because you genuinely care about your clients, the advisors. You're not just in this to make a dollar. You really care about them, and I care about them. So we gel very nicely there. And you know, when you care for the advisor, you also care for the advisor's clients, which is why I have the client event, because that's really the crux of everything, is making sure your clients are taken care of in a genuine way, rather than, you know, wine tasting or a plate liquor in the back of a restaurant. You know, that's not value added. What's value added is to give them some skills they can use for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Well, I know today I'll take away some things that I'm going to incorporate like immediately, which I think are going to help. And hopefully everybody today, you got a lot out of this session with Dr. Jack. And Dr. Jack, thanks again for joining us today. And we'll wrap it up here so everybody can get back to their day, and have a great rest of your week. And thanks, Dr. Jack. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks. My pleasure. Bye-bye.